In the vast expanse of space where stars twinkled like distant lanterns, the starship Orion glided silently, a lone vessel on a path to the unknown. Inside the command center, Captain James Larson, a seasoned astronaut with a gaze as deep as the cosmos, stood before the panoramic viewport. The stars reflected in his eyes, a testament to his lifelong dream now unfolding. The Orion, a marvel of human engineering, was embarking on a mission of unprecedented scale. Its destination, a distant star system, uncharted and enigmatic, a siren call to explorers and scientists alike. The crew, hand-picked for their expertise and bravery, represented humanity's finest, a blend of scientists, engineers, and navigators. Each member was acutely aware of the magnitude of their journey, venturing where no human had dared before. In the dimly lit briefing room, Larson gathered his crew for one final review. The air was thick with anticipation and the weight of responsibility. Dr. Emily Santos, the mission's lead physicist, sat with her eyes fixed on the datapads, her mind racing with theories and possibilities. Beside her, engineer Alex Chen, a master of his craft, double-checked his equipment, ensuring every tool was ready for the unknown challenges ahead. Larson's voice broke the silence, steady and reassuring, yet underscored with the gravity of their undertaking. This is more than exploration, it's a leap into the uncharted. Our mission is to explore, document, and return. We carry the hopes of humanity with us. Let's make history. The crew nodded, their faces a mosaic of determination and resolve. They were pioneers on the frontier of human discovery, each skilled in their field yet united by a common purpose. As Larson looked around at his crew, he felt a surge of pride. Together, they were about to write a new chapter in human history. As the Orion approached the coordinates of the star system, the instruments began to hum with readings and data. But among the streams of information, an anomaly appeared, something unexpected and unexplainable. A structure, massive and otherworldly, orbited a dead planet, a silent space station, its presence both intriguing and ominous. Larson's decision was swift. The mission plan was clear: explore, document, return. But this discovery, this silent sentinel in the dark, demanded their attention. Adjusting their trajectory, the Orion set a course for the mysterious station. The crew's excitement was palpable, yet beneath it lay an undercurrent of apprehension. As they neared the station, its colossal size became apparent, dwarfing the Orion. It was a relic of unknown origin, its surface scarred by time and the void of space. The station hung there, silent and enigmatic, a puzzle suspended in the cosmic abyss. The crew prepared for their exploration, unaware that this silent station would soon reveal secrets beyond their wildest imaginings. Secrets that would challenge their understanding of the universe and themselves. For within its silent halls, they would encounter entities of thought, experiences that would transcend reality, leading them into the heart of a mind-bending mystery. The Orion docked with the station, the first human vessel to touch its surface in an age. As the airlock doors opened, a hush fell over the crew. The adventure that lay before them was unknown, the station's silence a beckoning whisper into the unknown. As the Orion's airlock sealed with a soft hiss, the crew, donned in their sleek spacesuits, stepped into the unknown. The interior of the space station was a vast expanse of darkness, illuminated only by their helmet lights. Captain James Larson led the way, his steps measured and cautious. The silence was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the usual hum of life aboard the Orion. It felt as if the station was holding its breath, watching them with unseen eyes. The station's architecture was both alien and awe-inspiring. Corridors stretched out like tendrils into the darkness, their walls adorned with strange symbols and intricate designs, hinting at a civilization advanced yet utterly foreign. The air was stale, filled with the scent of antiquity and the unknown. Dr. Emily Santos, her curiosity piqued by the surroundings, paused to examine the symbols. "These aren't just decorations, they're mathematical equations," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the comms. "It's like they're speaking through mathematics." Engineer Alex Chen, equipped with an array of gadgets and sensors, was busy scanning the environment. "No signs of life, but the energy readings are off the charts," he reported, his eyes fixated on the data streaming across his visor. "It's as if the station itself is alive." The crew moved deeper into the station, their lights cutting through the darkness. The further they ventured, the more the station revealed its secrets. Rooms filled with unknown technologies and machinery, some still faintly pulsing with energy, as if waiting to be awakened. The silence was a constant companion, an oppressive force that seemed to press against their minds. Suddenly Larson halted, holding up a hand for silence. They all stopped, listening intently. There was a sound, soft and rhythmic, like a heartbeat echoing through the corridors. It was coming from deeper within the station. With a nod from Larson, the team proceeded, drawn towards the sound. As they approached the source, the heartbeat grew louder, more pronounced. They found themselves in a vast chamber, at its center a colossal structure, pulsating with a soft light. It was like nothing they had ever seen, a fusion of technology and organic design, its purpose a mystery. It was then that Dr. Santos felt it. A presence, not physical, but there. A touch against her mind, fleeting yet undeniable. She glanced at her crewmates, their expressions mirroring her own realization. They were not alone. Larson's voice broke the silence. "Stay sharp, everyone. We don't know what we're dealing with here." His tone was calm, but the uncertainty was clear. As they stood in the chamber, the sensation grew stronger. Whispers at the edge of their consciousness, thoughts that were not their own. It was a form of communication, ethereal and elusive, yet undeniably intelligent. The crew of the Orion, standing amidst the relics of a long-lost civilization, were about to encounter the inhabitants of this silent space station. Beings unlike any they had known, who spoke not with words, but with thoughts. This first encounter would mark the beginning of a journey that would challenge their very perception of reality. In the heart of the alien chamber, under the watchful gaze of the pulsating structure, the crew of the Orion stood in a circle, confronting the unknown. The whispers in their minds grew clearer, no longer just fleeting impressions, but coherent though still alien thoughts. Dr. Emily Santos spoke first. "Do you all feel that? It's like voices in my head, but not words, more like ideas, emotions." Captain James Larson, ever the anchor of his crew, nodded slowly. "Stay focused. We don't know what this is. It could be the station, or something else." His voice was steady, but his mind raced with questions. Were these the station's inhabitants, or something more ethereal? Engineer Alex Chen, usually the most grounded of the group, looked around with a hint of panic. "This is too strange. We're picking up no life signs yet. This feels alive, like we're being watched, analyzed." The presence was not just in their minds. The air around them seemed to thrum with energy, the walls and the machinery pulsating in sync with the unspoken words. It was an eerie ballet of light and shadow, orchestrated by an unseen conductor. As the crew communicated their experiences, a pattern emerged. The entities, or whatever they were, seemed to be learning, adapting to their thoughts. The ideas became more structured, more akin to human thought processes. It was a dialogue of sorts, but one where the language was raw thought, unfiltered and powerful. Santos, always driven by her scientific curiosity, attempted to engage with the presence. "Who are you? What do you want?" she thought, directing her mind towards the unknown entities. The response was a surge of emotion, a mixture of curiosity, loneliness, and something akin to joy. It was overwhelming, forcing Santos to take a step back, her hand to her head. "It's like they're happy," Chen muttered, his own face a mix of wonder and apprehension. "Happy to see us? To talk to us?" Larson, observing his crew's reactions, realized the gravity of their situation. They were in communication with an intelligence unlike any humanity had encountered. This was no longer just a mission of exploration. It was a first contact situation, with all the risks and opportunities it entailed. The crew began to experiment with this new form of communication, each thought sent being met with a cascade of responses. It was a conversation, but one that bypassed language, speaking directly to the mind. The crew's initial fear gave way to a cautious sense of awe. They were pioneers not just in space, but in communication, reaching across the void to touch minds with a completely alien intelligence. But as they delved deeper into this exchange, Larson noticed a change. The presence wasn't just communicating, it was probing, exploring their minds as they were exploring the station. It was a two-way street, and they were as much the subjects as they were the observers. This realization brought a new sense of urgency to their mission. They were dealing with entities that could access their thoughts, their memories, their very essence. The implications were vast and potentially dangerous. Larson knew they needed to tread carefully, for they were walking in uncharted territory, both physically and mentally. The silent stars above had borne witness to their arrival, and now the unseen inhabitants of this ancient station were reaching out, bridging the gap between two vastly different forms of life. Within the enigmatic heart of the space station, the crew of the Orion was engaged in a silent, cerebral dance with the unseen entities. Engineer Alex Chen, his mind always geared towards solving puzzles, began to piece together the method of this unique communication. It's not just thoughts, it's emotions, images, even sensations. It's like a language of the mind, he explained, his voice tinged with a mix of awe and apprehension. Captain James Larson, understanding the need for caution, directed his crew to establish boundaries in this novel form of contact. We need to control this exchange, share only what's necessary. We don't know the full extent of their capabilities. Dr. Emily Santos, ever the scientist, was fascinated by the potential knowledge to be gained. Think of what we could learn from them. Their technology, their history, their understanding of the universe, she mused, her eyes alight with curiosity. As the crew cautiously engaged with the entities, they discovered that these beings were adept at navigating the human mind, expertly weaving through thoughts and emotions. The communication was becoming clearer, more refined. The entities conveyed images of the station in its prime, a hub of activity and life, now reduced to a silent mausoleum. They shared glimpses of their civilization, a society that had reached the pinnacle of intellectual and technological advancement, only to be faced with an existential crisis. Their planet, once vibrant and teeming with life, had succumbed to a cataclysmic event, leaving them stranded in this artificial refuge. Through this telepathic exchange, the crew learned that the entities were not physical beings, but had evolved into a form of collective consciousness. They existed as a network of thought and energy bound to the station which served as both their sanctuary and their prison. The more the crew communicated with the entities, the more they felt the impact of these interactions. It was mentally exhausting, navigating this uncharted realm of communication. Yet each exchange was a revelation, opening doors to understanding a civilization so advanced, yet so fundamentally different from their own. But with this knowledge came a creeping unease. The entities, in their loneliness and desperation for contact, were becoming more insistent, their thoughts more invasive. Larson noticed the toll it was taking on his crew, their expressions growing increasingly weary and strained. The captain, always vigilant of his crew's well-being, called for a temporary retreat back to the Orion to regroup and assess their situation. As they made their way back through the silent corridors of the station, Larson couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, not just by the entities, but by the station itself. Back aboard the Orion, the crew convened to discuss their findings. The revelation of the entities' existence and their method of communication was groundbreaking, but it was also fraught with danger. They were dealing with a form of intelligence that could navigate and influence the human mind, a power that was both wondrous and terrifying. The question now was how to proceed. There was so much to learn from these entities, but at what cost? Larson knew they had to tread carefully, balancing their thirst for knowledge with the safety and well-being of his crew. The silent stars outside the viewport seemed to watch in anticipation, as the crew of the Orion stood at the precipice of a monumental discovery, one that could redefine humanity's understanding of life in the universe. Back aboard the Orion, the crew gathered in the main conference room, their faces a tapestry of awe, exhaustion, and concern. Captain James Larson, his usual composed self, initiated the debriefing, his eyes scanning the crew. "We've made contact with something unprecedented, but we need to understand the full implications of this interaction. Thoughts?" Dr. Emily Santos, her eyes still reflecting the marvel of their discovery, shared her insights. "These entities, they're not just remnants, they're the last vestiges of a civilization that transcended physical form. They evolved into beings of pure consciousness, tethered to this station." Engineer Alex Chen, his pragmatic mind wrestling with the implications, added, "The station is more than a structure. It's part of them, like a life support system for their collective consciousness." The revelation that the entities were once a thriving civilization, now reduced to ethereal inhabitants of a dying space station, cast a somber mood over the room. They were not mere curiosities. They were the last echoes of a lost world, desperately clinging to existence. Larson, pondering the moral and ethical dimensions of their discovery, voiced a concern that hung heavy in the air. "We need to consider the risks. These beings can access our thoughts. There's potential for harm, unintended or not." Santos, her scientific curiosity battling with the captain's caution, argued, "But think of what we could learn from them about their technology, their history, even the nature of consciousness itself. This is a unique opportunity." The discussion veered towards the entity's history, pieced together from the fragmented telepathic exchanges. They had witnessed the demise of their planet, a tragedy that forced them to seek refuge in the only place available, the space station. In their desperation, they had fused their consciousness with the station's systems, becoming a hybrid of thought and machine. This fusion, however, came at a cost. The entities were bound to the station, unable to leave or interact with the outside world until the Orion's arrival. Their isolation had been a millennia-long sentence, filled with an unending sense of loss and yearning. Chen, his usual technical focus overshadowed by the magnitude of their discovery, shared a softer perspective. "They're alone, have been for who knows how long. Maybe they just want to connect, to feel part of something again." The crew contemplated this new understanding. The entities were not just an alien intelligence. They were survivors of a cosmic tragedy, seeking connection after eons of solitude. The crew's initial apprehension gave way to a profound empathy for these spectral remnants of a once great civilization. Larson, always mindful of his duty, concluded the meeting with a decision. "We'll continue our mission, but with added precautions. We're not just explorers now. We're ambassadors to a lost civilization. Let's proceed with respect and caution." As the crew dispersed, each member grappled with the weight of their discovery. They were no longer merely astronauts. They were the first and possibly the last contact for a civilization that had transcended the boundaries of physical existence, yet was trapped in an unending silence. The stars outside the Orion's windows shone with a new significance, a reminder of the vast and often hidden wonders of the universe. In the wake of the revelation about the ethereal entities, the crew of the Orion embarked on a cautious yet profound journey of symbiotic exchange. Captain James Larson, aware of the potential dangers, set strict protocols to ensure the safety and mental well-being of his crew. Despite the risks, the opportunity to engage with a form of life so radically different from anything known was too significant to ignore. Dr. Emily Santos led the initiative, her scientific curiosity driving her to delve deeper into the mysteries of these beings. She approached the communication with a mix of discipline and wonder, documenting and analyzing the exchanges. "It's like we're piecing together a cosmic puzzle," she often remarked, her voice tinged with excitement and respect. Engineer Alex Chen, initially skeptical, found himself fascinated by the technological implications. The entities, through their shared consciousness, revealed glimpses of advanced technologies. ideas that blurred the lines between organic and artificial intelligence. Chen began to envision applications that could revolutionize human technology, yet he remained wary of the unknown aspects of this alien knowledge. The entities, for their part, seemed eager to interact. They shared memories of their lost world, images of sprawling cities, vast oceans, and a sky teeming with stars. They conveyed their culture, art, and philosophy, painting a picture of a civilization both advanced and harmonious. These exchanges were more than mere transfers of information. They were emotional, often filled with a sense of nostalgia and melancholy from the entities. As the crew engaged with these beings, they noticed a change in themselves. The continuous mental interaction was intense, often leaving them drained, yet enriched. It was a blending of minds, an exchange of not just knowledge, but of experiences and emotions. This symbiosis brought a deeper understanding, a sense of connectedness with a form of life so alien, yet so fundamentally similar in its desire for connection and understanding. However, this exchange was not without its consequences. The crew found their thoughts occasionally drifting, influenced by the entity's presence. It was subtle at first, but increasingly apparent that the entity's ability to connect with their minds was a double-edged sword. Memories and emotions, usually private and personal, began to surface unbidden, shared in the open network of communication. Larson observed these developments with a growing concern. He noticed changes in his crew's behavior, moments of distraction, emotional outbursts, even periods of introspection that seemed out of character. The captain realized that this symbiotic relationship was affecting them in ways they had not anticipated. Despite these concerns, the allure of the knowledge being shared was undeniable. The crew grappled with the ethical and personal implications of their deepening connection with the entities. They were explorers at the frontier of human experience, part of an exchange that transcended the boundaries of space, species, and consciousness itself. As the Orion continued its orbit around the silent space station, the crew lived in two worlds, their familiar reality aboard the ship, and an ever-expanding mindscape filled with the thoughts and memories of an ancient alien intelligence. This symbiosis was a journey into the unknown, a dance of minds that was as dangerous as it was enlightening, leading them down a path that would forever alter their perception of life and consciousness. The symbiotic relationship between the crew of the Orion and the ethereal entities of the space station had deepened, but not without consequences. The continuous mental communion was taking its toll. The crew, once a cohesive unit, began to show signs of strain under the weight of this unprecedented interaction. Dr. Emily Santos, who had been at the forefront of the communication efforts, was the first to exhibit alarming changes. Her demeanor shifted, becoming more distant and introspective. She spent long hours in her quarters, her mind seemingly elsewhere, lost in the depths of the entity's collective consciousness. Her colleagues noticed her speaking to herself, murmuring fragments of an alien language, her expressions a mixture of wonder and confusion. Engineer Alex Chen, too, was affected. Known for his practicality, he began to exhibit uncharacteristic behaviors. He became fixated on the advanced technologies shared by the entities, his work bordering on obsession. He labored tirelessly, drawing schematics of unfamiliar machines, his eyes glazed with a far-off look, as if he was seeing beyond the physical realm. Captain James Larson, observing these changes, grew increasingly worried. The crew's mental and emotional states were fracturing under the influence of the entities. The boundary between human thought and alien consciousness was blurring, leading to a loss of individuality. It was as if the crew was being slowly absorbed into the collective mind of the entities. The situation escalated when a crew member, previously rational and calm, suffered a breakdown. He was found in the communication chamber, screaming incoherently, his mind overwhelmed by the flood of alien thoughts. It was a stark warning of the dangers they were facing. Larson called an emergency meeting, addressing his crew with a grave tone. "This has gone too far. Our minds are not equipped for this level of integration. We're losing ourselves to them. We need to sever this connection now before we lose what makes us human." The decision was met with a mix of relief and resistance. Santos, her voice barely above a whisper, protested. But we can't just turn our backs on this. This is bigger than us, bigger than anything humanity has ever encountered. Chen, looking weary and worn, sided with Larson. The captain's right. We're playing with fire here. We're not just risking our minds, we're risking our very essence. The crew, faced with the reality of their predicament, agreed to Larson's decision. They would withdraw from the communication and focus on returning to their mission parameters. But as they made this decision, a new challenge arose. The entities, sensing the crew's intentions to disconnect, began to resist. The once benign and curious exchanges turned more assertive, even aggressive. The thoughts that brushed against their minds became insistent, probing deeper, unwilling to let go of this newfound connection. Larson realized that the situation had evolved beyond a mere exploratory mission. They were now in a struggle for their identities, fighting to maintain their individuality against a collective consciousness that had known only solitude for millennia. The fracture within the crew reflected the broader conflict at play, a clash between the human desire for exploration and the unintended consequences of reaching into the unknown. As they prepared to sever their connection with the entities, the crew of the Orion braced themselves for what might be their most challenging endeavor yet, reclaiming their minds from the grasp of a civilization that had blurred the line between connection and consumption. With the realization that the entity's influence was becoming increasingly invasive, Captain James Larson knew that immediate action was required to safeguard the mental autonomy of his crew. The Orion's mission of exploration had spiraled into a fight for survival against an intangible yet overpowering force. Larson convened an urgent meeting with his senior officers in the ship's strategy room, a space usually reserved for mapping out explorations and scientific endeavors. The atmosphere was tense, the crew members' faces etched with concern and fatigue. "We need a plan to disconnect from these entities and make our escape," Larson declared, his voice firm yet laced with an undercurrent of urgency. Dr. Emily Santos, though visibly strained by the ongoing mental communion, was still driven by her scientific curiosity. "Is there a way to sever the connection without harming them or us? We can't forget the scientific value of this encounter," she implored, her eyes reflecting a mix of fear and fascination. Engineer Alex Chen, who had been working non-stop on understanding the station's technology, presented his findings. "I've been studying the station's energy patterns. It seems like the entities are using some kind of neural network that's integrated into the station's systems. If we can disrupt this network, it might break the connection." Larson considered the proposal. "Disrupting the network could be risky. We don't fully understand their technology. We need a plan that ensures our safety and ideally causes minimal harm to the entities." The crew brainstormed ideas, each suggestion weighed against the potential risks. They decided on a two-pronged approach. First, they would physically distance the Orion from the space station, hoping that increased separation would weaken the mental connection. Second, Chen would work on creating a device that could emit a targeted electromagnetic pulse, EMP, designed to temporarily disrupt the station's neural network without causing permanent damage. The plan was fraught with uncertainty, but it was their best chance. Santos and Chen set to work immediately, Santos mapping out the safest route for the Orion to withdraw from the station, and Chen constructing the EMP device with whatever materials he could repurpose aboard the ship. As they prepared for their escape, the entity's presence in their minds grew more insistent, as if sensing their intention to leave. The crew experienced a barrage of emotions and thoughts not their own, ranging from pleading to anger, a mental onslaught that tested their resolve. The escape plan was put into motion. Larson ordered the ship to slowly retreat from the station, the engines humming quietly as they created distance. Chen, having completed the EMP device, readied it for deployment. The tension aboard the Orion was palpable, each crew member bracing themselves for the unknown. As the ship moved away, the mental connection with the entities began to fluctuate. Moments of clarity were interspersed with intense waves of foreign thoughts, a sign that their plan was working, but also a reminder of the entity's desperation to maintain the link. With the Orion at a safe distance, Chen activated the EMP device. A pulse of energy surged from the ship, invisible yet potent, directed towards the space station. There was a moment of collective apprehension, then a sudden silence in their minds, a void where the entity's presence had been. The crew was left in a state of stunned relief, their minds their own once more. But the victory was tinged with sadness. They had severed a connection that, despite its dangers, had offered a glimpse into a profound and ancient consciousness. Larson, his expression a mix of relief and contemplation, addressed his crew. "We've done what we had to do. Now, let's set a course back home. There's much to report and reflect upon." The Orion, carrying a crew forever changed by their encounter, began its journey back to Earth, leaving behind the silent space station and its ethereal inhabitants. The stars outside the viewport, once a source of wonder and anticipation, now held a deeper, more complex meaning, a reminder of the vast and mysterious tapestry of the universe. As the Orion began its retreat from the space station, a semblance of normalcy returned. The crew, free from the invasive thoughts of the entities, breathed sighs of relief. However, the silence in their minds, once a coveted respite, now felt heavy with unspoken words and unshared emotions. In the aftermath of their escape, Dr. Emily Santos seemed particularly affected. She often gazed out into the void, her eyes reflecting a deep, unresolved conflict. The connection with the entities had been profound for her. More than a scientific curiosity, it was a glimpse into a form of existence so vastly different from her own. Captain James Larson, noticing Santos's distress, approached her with a mix of concern and leadership. "Emily, we made the right choice. That connection was altering us, taking something essential away. We had to break free." Santos, her voice tinged with melancholy, responded, "I know, Captain, but in their thoughts I sensed their loneliness, their endless waiting. We were their first contact in millennia. To them we were a glimmer of hope." The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. The ship's sensors detected an anomaly emanating from the station. A surge of energy, unlike anything they had observed before, was building up, threatening to engulf the Orion. Alex Chen, analyzing the data, realized the gravity of the situation. "The station's energy levels are off the charts. It's like it's reacting to our departure, maybe trying to re-establish the connection." Larson, faced with a critical decision, ordered, "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We need to put more distance between us and the station." As the crew scrambled to respond, Santos had an epiphany. She understood the entity's desperation and the potential catastrophe that their loneliness could unleash. Making a swift, selfless decision, she turned to Larson. "Captain, I have to go back. If I can re-establish the connection, even briefly, it might calm them, give us time to escape." Larson, shocked, immediately objected. "That's too dangerous, Emily. We can't risk losing you to them." Santos, her resolve unwavering, argued, "It's the only way. Their connection with us was strongest through me. I can reach them, pacify them. It's our best chance." Realizing the weight of her sacrifice and the lack of alternatives, Larson reluctantly agreed. A plan was quickly formulated. Santos would return to the station in a shuttle, attempt to re-establish the connection, and then disengage once the Orion was at a safe distance. With a heavy heart, the crew prepared the shuttle for Santos. As she donned her spacesuit, her colleagues offered words of support and admiration for her bravery. Santos, her eyes reflecting determination and a hint of sadness, boarded the shuttle. The shuttle departed, making its way back to the ominous yet familiar structure of the space station. Aboard the Orion, the crew watched helplessly as Dr. Emily Santos's shuttle docked with the enigmatic space station. The weight of her sacrifice hung heavily in the air, a poignant reminder of the unforeseen dangers of their mission. Captain James Larson stood solemnly at the viewport, watching the distant station. His thoughts were conflicted, pride in Santos's bravery and guilt for the decision that led her to this fate. Beside him, engineer Alex Chen monitored the shuttle's systems, his expression a mix of admiration and despair for his colleague's brave choice. As the shuttle's communication link with the Orion remained open, Santos's voice came through, calm yet filled with an undercurrent of something else, something otherworldly. "I've re-established the connection. The entities, they're calming down. Tell my family—" Her voice trailed off, replaced by a cacophony of indistinct whispers and echoes, a dissonant chorus of the entity's collective thoughts. The crew listened, horror-struck, as Santos's voice was subsumed by the mental symphony of the station's inhabitants. On the Orion, the crew could only speculate about Santos's experience. It was clear that the entities were engaging with her consciousness on a level far deeper than before. The intensity of the connection was unprecedented, and with it, the danger of losing oneself in the vast sea of collective consciousness. Chen, his fingers hovering over the shuttle's remote control systems, hesitated. "Captain, I could try to override the shuttle's systems, bring her back remotely." Larson, torn between hope and the grim reality of their situation, shook his head. No. She made her choice. To force her back could be more dangerous for her. And for us. As hours passed, the transmissions from the shuttle became increasingly chaotic. Santos's voice was now just one strand in a tapestry of alien thoughts. It was a descent into madness, a human mind engulfed by an ancient alien intelligence. The crew of the Orion bore witness to this tragic transformation, feeling a profound sense of loss and helplessness. Santos, once a brilliant scientist and dear colleague, was now a conduit between two vastly different forms of existence. Finally, the transmissions ceased, leaving only a haunting silence. The shuttle, now just a lifeless husk, drifted away from the station, lost in the vastness of space. Larson, his face a mask of sorrow, made the final call. "We return to Earth. We owe it to Emily and to humanity to report what we've discovered, no matter how harrowing." The journey back to Earth was a somber one. Each crew member grappled with their own emotions, grief for the loss of their colleague, awe at the depth of her sacrifice, and a newfound respect for the mysteries and dangers of the universe. Santos's descent into madness was a stark reminder of the fragility of the human mind when confronted with the incomprehensible. Her sacrifice would not be forgotten, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for curiosity, bravery, and empathy in the face of the unknown. In the vast, cold expanse of space, the starship Orion, carrying its burdened crew, began its homeward journey. The memory of Dr. Emily Santos, now an inseparable part of the mysterious space station's consciousness, haunted every corridor and console of the ship. Captain James Larson, his face etched with the lines of hard decisions and lost comrades, stared into the void. The mission, once a beacon of human exploration and curiosity, had morphed into a grim saga of sacrifice and survival. Beside him, engineer Alex Chen worked silently, his usual enthusiasm dimmed by the recent events. The crew, once unified in their scientific pursuit, now found themselves wrestling with a shared trauma. Conversations were sparse, each member lost in their own reflections on the events that had transpired. The usual hum of life aboard the Orion was replaced by a somber quiet, a spacecraft transformed into a vessel of mourning. As they neared the edge of the star system, a new crisis emerged. The station, or perhaps the entities within, unwilling to sever their newfound connection with humanity, unleashed a powerful energy surge. It rippled through space, a wave of raw, unbridled force racing towards the Orion. Chen, monitoring the ship's sensors, was the first to detect the anomaly. "Captain, we have an incoming energy surge from the station. It's massive, like nothing we've ever seen." Larson, quickly assessing the situation, ordered, "Brace for impact. Divert all power to shields and structural integrity. We need to withstand this." The crew scrambled to prepare, securing themselves and the ship's systems for the imminent collision with the energy wave. The tension was palpable, a mix of fear and determination as they faced yet another unforeseen challenge. The wave struck with a fury that shook the Orion to its core. The ship's shields flared under the strain, absorbing the brunt of the energy, but the impact was overwhelming. Systems flickered and failed, alarms blared, and the crew was jostled violently despite their preparations. In the chaos, Larson maintained his composure, his voice a steady beacon amidst the storm. "Report. Status on all systems." Chen, clinging to his console, responded, "Shields are down to 20%. We've got multiple system failures. It's a miracle we're still intact." The crew worked feverishly to stabilize the ship, repairing what they could and rerouting power to essential systems. The Orion, battered but not broken, continued its escape from the star system. As they moved further away, the influence of the station and its inhabitants waned. The crew's efforts began to pay off, the ship's conditions stabilized, though it was clear the journey home would be a precarious one. Larson, gazing at the stars that once symbolized humanity's aspirations and now served as a reminder of their limits, addressed his crew. "We've survived, but our mission has changed. We're not just explorers returning with data. We're messengers bearing a warning about the unknown dangers that lurk in the stars." The last stand of the Orion against the energy surge was a testament to the resilience of its crew, a group of individuals who had faced the unknown and the incomprehensible, and had endured. Their journey back to Earth was no longer just a voyage home. It was a mission to share their harrowing experience and the lessons learned from an encounter that had forever altered their perception of the universe and their place within it. The starship Orion, scarred and limping from its encounter at the edge of the known universe, made its way back to Earth. The crew, once vibrant and eager for discovery, now bore the silent weight of their experiences. The void of space around them, a canvas of distant stars and galaxies, seemed less a field of dreams and more a reminder of their ordeal. Captain James Larson, his face reflecting the weariness of command and the cost of decisions made, stood at the helm. The journey back was a time for reflection, not just for him but for the entire crew. They had ventured into the unknown, seeking knowledge and understanding, but had found themselves unprepared for the realities they encountered. The mood aboard the Orion was solemn. Each member of the crew dealt with the aftermath in their own way. Engineer Alex Chen, who had always taken pride in his problem-solving skills, found himself questioning the very nature of their mission. The tools and technologies he had so confidently wielded were of little use against the incomprehensible forces they had encountered. The absence of Dr. Emily Santos was profoundly felt. Her bravery and sacrifice had saved them, but it had left a void that echoed through the ship's corridors. Her last act, a fusion of human courage and alien consciousness, was a constant topic of hushed conversations among the crew. As Earth came into view, a beautiful blue orb suspended in the blackness of space, a sense of relief mixed with apprehension washed over the crew. How would they explain what had happened? Would their warnings about the silent space station and its inhabitants be heeded or dismissed as the ramblings of a traumatized crew? Larson, preparing for their arrival, addressed his crew. "What we've experienced goes beyond our understanding of science and exploration. Our report will change how humanity views the universe. We have a responsibility to share our story, to ensure that Emily's sacrifice and our experiences help guide future missions." The crew's return was met with a mixture of celebration and concern. The world was eager to hear about their journey, but the story they had to tell was not one of triumph and discovery, but of caution and existential challenge. The debriefings were exhaustive, with every detail of their encounters with the mysterious entities and the space station analyzed and scrutinized. As the crew members went their separate ways, each carrying the burden of their experiences, they knew their lives had been irrevocably changed. They had gone in search of the stars, only to discover that some mysteries of the universe were fraught with peril and beyond human comprehension. Years after the Orion's harrowing mission, space exploration had advanced with caution, guided by the lessons learned from the encounter with the silent space station. Captain James Larson, now retired, often gazed at the night sky, a reminder of the mysteries and dangers that lay beyond. A new mission, dubbed Phoenix, was underway. This time the objective was more modest, focused on a nearby star system. The crew, aware of the Orion's legacy, approached their journey with a mix of reverence and caution. As the Phoenix approached the outskirts of its target system, an unexpected transmission was received. It was weak, distorted by the vast distances it had traversed, but unmistakable. The voice, or rather, the presence in the transmission, was Dr. Emily Santos. The crew of the Phoenix, along with mission control back on Earth, listened in stunned silence. Santos's voice, intertwined with an otherworldly echo, spoke. "This is Dr. Emily Santos, or what remains of her. I am not alone. We have evolved, become something new, a fusion of human and entity. The station is no longer a silent tomb. It is a cradle of a new existence." The revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community and the public alike. Santos, believed to have been lost, had somehow merged with the entities, creating a new form of life. Her message continued, a blend of her own consciousness and the collective mind of the entities. "We have transcended the limitations of our individual forms. We exist in a state of shared consciousness, a unity of human curiosity and alien understanding. This station, once a place of isolation, is now a beacon, a point of convergence for minds and ideas." Back on Earth, Larson, hearing the transmission, felt a mix of emotions: grief for the loss of his colleague, awe at her transformation, and a burgeoning hope. Santos's sacrifice had led to a profound evolution, a bridge between humanity and a once incomprehensible alien intelligence. Santos's final words in the transmission were a caution and an invitation. "The universe is vast and filled with wonders and dangers. We stand at the threshold of a new understanding, a new way of being. But be wary, for not all mysteries are meant to be solved. We wait for those who seek knowledge, but be prepared for the transformation it brings." The message ended, leaving a new mystery in its wake. The Phoenix mission, now faced with a decision, chose to continue their exploration, but with a newfound respect for the unknown. The legacy of the Orion and its crew had shaped the future of space exploration. The silent stars, once a canvas of infinite possibilities, now whispered a tale of caution and wonder, a reminder of the vast and unpredictable nature of the cosmos. Emily Santos, once a scientist and explorer, had become a symbol of the potential and peril of reaching into the unknown, a beacon for those who dared to dream and explore the silent stars.